Thanks for tuning in and welcome to Charles's Punchlines. I'm Charles and I'll bring you all the important footy news being reported this week. To begin with, AFL boss Gillon McLachlan has confirmed all Victorian clubs will relocate to Queensland for 10 weeks as the league deals with playing through the COVID-19 crisis.
Over the last few months, we have consistently spoken about our competition and our club's ability to adapt. We've spoken also about ensuring we prioritise the health and welfare of our players, staff and the wider community.
McLachlan said having Queensland as the base for the competition will provide greater certainty. McLachlan also said players with family members and top-up players would make their way to Queensland would be subject to a 14-day quarantine period. McLachlan stated that this move applies only to the home and away season and that no decision has been yet made about the location of this year's grand final. The AFL Players Association will need to agree to the extended time away and also possibly shorter breaks between matches, but Players Association President Patrick Dangerfield told SEN Radio on Tuesday the Players Association is open to the prospects as long as the well-being of the players continues to be a priority. Dangerfield also said that the players are accepting their responsibilities to keep the game going and that no one had any complaints about the facilities providing to the clubs or the support the AFL was giving to the players. And related to the COVID-19 situation, Victorian clubs are dealing with the financial implications of being forced out of the state for the rest of the season, with the loss of millions of dollars in revenue from playing home games away from the MCG and Marvel Stadium. The AFL has been working hard with clubs to allocate signage revenue when home games are played away from a club's home venue. At this stage, the Victorian clubs are not expecting to receive revenue from playing home games at stadiums outside the state and are waiting on the AFL to determine what signage revenue they will get from playing home games at venues such as the SCG and Metricon and Optus stadiums. For this season, many of the clubs are relying on the AFL to finance their operations. Richmond coach Damien Hardwick has taken a swipe at Sydney counterpart John Longmire for tactics that contributed to last Sunday's terrible game at the Gabba. The Tigers' 34-26 victory made for the lowest aggregate total in the AFL game since round 16, 1996. Hardwick stated that it was a horrendous game of football, saying that the problem was caused by the Swans playing extra players in defence, meaning that it became very difficult for either team to score. I didn't think we were much chance of scoring, but they were no chance of scoring, Hardwick said. However, Longmire replied that the Swans did not have extra players in defence. And in more Richmond news, the Tigers could regain defender David Asprey from a knee injury for Saturday night's match against North at Metricon, but captain Trent Cotchin is still at least another week away from returning from a hamstring injury. In Blues news, Carlton are in the top 8 for the first time since 2013 after their solid win over the Doggies at Metricon Stadium on Sunday night. The Blues were led to one of their best wins in a long time by the likes of Eddie Betts, Harry Mackay and Matt Kennedy.
Loads up on it, looks good off the boot, and he's got it there. Glorious goal from Levi Casbolt. And the recruiting staff to pick up Martin, get him for nothing. He's been a generator again, and that's bending to perfection. Flicks it out to Walsh, pokes it towards half forward and Gibbons. Slap on was delightful to Kennedy, to Betts.
Just great ball movement. It hasn't been a 100%.
Blues coach David Teague said the team displayed a high amount of courage to take the game on and move the ball, and that it was their best four-quarter effort to date.
I don't know, our fans are very excited to have Eddie back in the navy blue, and we think it looks good on him. We hope it continues for a while.
Matt Kennedy coming in for his first game of the season tonight.
Courage to, we probably learned we'd gone a little bit away from playing our way, and I thought the players' courage to keep going, even in the late in the second and the third quarter, when the Bulldogs were coming at us, our players with ball in hand still had the courage to take the game on. And I wouldn't say the game was played exactly how we wanted. It spent a bit too much time in our back half, but when we got it through and we got some speed in the ball, we thought our forwards worked really well together.
Teague also said his forwards were able to play well due to the whole team's kicking and tackling and pressure, which allowed the Blues to win contests early. However, Teague did remind everyone that the Blues still had a lot of work to do in their improvement process. In tribunal news, St Kilda defender Ben Long has been rubbed out for 3 weeks for a head-high bump that concussed Fremantle ruckman Sean Darcy. Also, Essendon's Dylan Shield is out for a head-high bump on North's Curtis Taylor. Port Adelaide's Brad Ebert has been offered a one-match ban for a head-high bump on GWS's Harry Perryman, with Perryman also offered a fine for striking Port's Ollie Wines. Richmond Marlon Pickett has escaped with a fine for a head-high bump on Sydney's Isaac Heaney, while the Tigers' Jaden Short has been offered a fine for engaging in misconduct against Heaney. Meanwhile, Adelaide's Brad Crouch has been offered a $500 sanction for misconduct against Nick Natanui, and Saints ruckman Rowan Marshall has offered a $1,000 fine for striking Freo's Nathan Wilson. In news for the Pies, Collingwood have kept faith with tour forward Mason Cox and have recalled Jordan De Goey and Josh Dacos to replace injured pair Will Kelly and Matt Scharenberg for their clash against Geelong at Optus Stadium. Magpies coach Nathan Buckley admitted this week that Cox is not in good form, but that he is too important to their structure to replace at this stage. And for Geelong, the Cats will be without injured pair Mitch Duncan and Quinton Narkle, who both suffered hamstring injuries against Brisbane last week. The Cats have recalled Jack Stephen and young Western Australian speedster Jordan Clark for his first game since the season resumed in round 1. In some concerning and disappointing news, Melbourne have denounced racist abuse directed at Harley Bennell on social media on Saturday night, with an offensive comment being posted on Twitter. In response to the abuse, Melbourne chairman Glenn Bartlett has rightly stated that there is no place for this racist behaviour in our game and in the society. Bartlett said he is in discussions with the federal and state politicians to see what could be done to deter people from posting such abuse, and that the club stands with the Harley and strongly against the vilification of people. An AFL Players Association Chief Executive Paul Marshall called the abuse abhorrent. In more news for the Bombers, defender Connor McKenna has been given the all-clear to play against the Western Bulldogs on Friday night, despite having surgery on his hand this week. Bombers coach John Worsfold said the Irishman will be given every opportunity to play, but ultimately the decision will rest with McKenna as whether he does. McKenna broke his finger during the Bombers' win over the Kangaroos on the weekend, and he looked likely to join several star teammates on the injury list. And in more injury news, GWS's Callan Ward has suffered a setback in his comeback season following knee reconstruction. The current injury is not to be reconstructed knee, but Ward could be sidelined for up to 6 weeks. However, the good news is that the injury will not require surgery. The Giants already have some injury concerns, with Zach Williams, Adam Kennedy and Sam Reid all about 2 weeks away from resuming. And finally, in footy milestone news, it's congratulations to GWS gun Toby Green, who notched up his 150th match for the club over the weekend against Port. Green says he is loving being a Giant and has no intention of leaving Sydney, and has really enjoyed helping build the club from the ground up.
Off the ground, Toby Green! What a footballer this man is!
Well, Papley went searching, was hoping for McLean. In the end, Zach Williams had it, lost it. Green steps around Henny, fires at goal. Green, he's got a couple.
He's having a bit of a nightmare, to be truthful. Delidio, and here he is, Green. What a mark! Oh.
Toby also addressed his fiery reputation, saying that he will probably never shake it and that he's learned to live with it and that it's not something he cares much about.
Pointing to be here or there. Green. This is interesting.
Toby Green, what's this? Puts the boot up.
Bit of a dead arm there.
Players do the AFLPA's most courageous. Cornelio. There's Green. Touch, they say.
That's it for me this week. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in again next week for more footy news, and remember what I say, keep punching!